So have you graphed parabolas before? Yes? Yes, you have. You did this in math. 3, we're going to talk about standard form and vertex form. I believe the way you guys wrote it last year was a little different. So we'll see if this makes sense. Standard form. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And this is what your book calls standard form. So if they ask to write it in standard form, this is what it's going to look like. All right. What prior knowledge do you have if a is positive versus if a is a negative number? What happens? What is what?
Faces
Up or down. Which one is which? If a is positive, it faces yes. And if it's negative, it faces which direction? All right, any questions on that? Prior knowledge, you guys all know that? Okay, line of symmetry. Do you guys remember line of symmetry? Did you sometimes call it axis of symmetry? Line of symmetry, I'm just going to abbreviate. Line of symmetry. It's x equals opposite of b over 2a. Opposite of b over 2a. So if they're asking you to find the LOS and it is in standard form, you take the opposite of b and divide it by 2 times the leading coefficient a. And that's going to give you your line of symmetry, or sometimes called the axis of symmetry, just so in case you ever do see that, you know what it means. How can I use that to find the vertex? Anyone? Would you agree the vertex will always lie on the line of symmetry? Yes? So the x value will always be the negative b over 2a. And what would I do with that x value to find the corresponding y value? Plug it in is correct. You would plug it into your x's and find the corresponding y value. All right, did everybody hear what he said? He said plug it in. So you would do negative b over 2a. That's your x value. You'd plug it into your x's and find your corresponding y value. All right, have you guys done this before? Yes or no? Yes?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so that's that for that type of parabola, but you also dealt with sideways parabolas, yes or no? Yes? Okay, what's the difference between a sideways parabola? Instead of y equals, it would be x equals a y squared plus by plus c. All right, we're going to talk again about a being positive and a being negative and how that affects our graph. All right, a is what's the difference between these two? This parabola does what? Sideways. If it's positive, it opens to which direction? To the what? To the right. And if it's negative, it opens to the left. When they ask you to name the shapes on the test, parabolas are the easiest to figure out because it is the only conic that has only one squared. Do you see that? Only x is squared and nothing else. And down here, only y is squared and no x. So what is the easiest shape to figure out, or the easiest equation to name? Parabolas, because they are the only conic that has only one squared, either x squared or y squared. All right, LOS. Are you guys okay if I just call it LOS now? We know what LOS stands for. Line of symmetry, or axis of symmetry, in case you ever see it. All right, it's still negative b over 2a. What's changing though? Instead of x equals negative b over 2a, what is it going to be? Y equals. And the reason is X equals are what kind of lines? Vertical or horizontal? And do you agree if the parabola is opening up or down, your LOS is always going to be a vertical line? And if your parabola is opening sideways, your line of symmetry will always be a horizontal line, which is y equals. Does that make sense? All right. Now, to find our vertex, Gabe gave to us earlier that we plug it in. And this time I plug it into all the x's or all the y's? All the y's. So I'd plug it in there and find my corresponding what? X value. So x comma negative b over 2a. All right. Any questions on standard form review? None? All right, vertex form. And I'm going to call it review, but not sure if you guys dealt with it this way, if you wrote it a little different. All right, y equals a parentheses x minus h quantity squared plus k, or x equals a parentheses y minus k quantity squared plus h. This is my favorite form because it's the easiest to deal with. I don't have to do as much work when I have it in this form. What's the difference? Well, what's similar about these two? There's only one what? Squared. So it doesn't matter if it's x squared or y squared. You can tell it's a parabola. Do you agree? Okay. What does the x squared do? Open up or down, and the y squared opens. What is it? Left or right? Okay. Do you notice that the k and the h switch places? Okay. Why is that? Let's write down some more information, and you'll realize that it's not as confusing as it looks. All right. Vertex. And then LOS. Vertex for both of them. Vertex for both of them are going to be HK. Now, if you notice, I'm going to talk about the top one first. Opposite of the inside, outside stays the same. Because this is negative h, but over here it's positive h. And k stays the same. Do you see that? Opposite of the inside, outside stays the same. Is that true as well? Opposite of k, h stays the same. Is it still opposite of the inside, outside stays the same? Yes or no? Yes? All right. So why do the h and k switch places? What you want to recognize is that whatever's in the parentheses, whatever letter's in the parentheses, it goes in that spot. Here's what I mean. X is with the what? In the parentheses with the h. That means the h goes in the x spot. Is that correct? And y is with the what in parentheses? And that means the k goes in the y spot. And is that true? Okay, so do you see why they flip-flop? So that these can both be called HK. H is here, and K is here. In both cases, H goes in the X spot, K goes in the Y spot. And whatever's left goes in the leftover spot. Got it? X, Y, Y, X. Okay, questions before we talk about LOS, or line of symmetry. Okay. First one, anyone know what it is? X equals, and this one of course is going to be Y equals. For the X equals, it's going to be X equals H. Now why is that? Over here, was our line of symmetry the same as the X value of the vertex? Yes or no? Will that always be true? For an up or down parabola, will your line of symmetry always be the same as the X value of your vertex? Yes, it'll always be true because your vertex will always lie on the line of symmetry. So X is H. They should always match. And here, for the sideways, Y equals negative B over 2A is always the Y value. So what is it going to be here? Y equals H or K? K. Questions? All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is focus and directrix. You guys have dealt with that before, correct? Okay. I drew 4 because I'm going to draw one that's up, one that's down, one's right, and one that is left. Okay, so where you draw the vertex, it does not matter. I'm going to draw this first one in quadrant 2 and draw my parabola opening upward. All right, if your parabola is opening upward, what do we know? First off, this would be the LOS, yes or no? Yes? And can you see that the x value is on the line of symmetry? Yes? Okay. Where do the focus and directrix lie? Does anybody remember, or do you need like a refresher? What was that?
It's above the parabola. Above the parabola.
Above the parabola for which one?
First one.
The focus or the directrix?
Oh, the focus.
Focus is always inside, and directrix is always outside. Focus is always a point, directrix is always a line. Got it? Point and a line. The point is the focus, the line is the directrix. So you have really 2 points and 2 lines. The vertex is a point, the focus is a point, the line of symmetry is a line, and the directrix is a line. Do you see that? Point, point, line, line. All right, what you should know if you don't remember is that they're always equidistant. The distance between your vertex to your focus and from your vertex to your directrix will always be the same. So that's called the focal length. Once you find the focal length, that's how you find your vertex, your focus and your directrix. All right, let's try another one. What if the parabola is opening downward? The line of symmetry still goes right down the center. And the vertex still lies right on the line of symmetry. Now, from this vertex, I went up to be inside the parabola. On this vertex, which direction am I going to go, up or down, to be inside? Down. And right now, guys, I'm just kind of throwing the point in there. I'm not using any equations or math. I'm just trying to get you a visual so you can see what it looks like. All right, what do I know about this distance and this distance here? They should be what? The same, equidistant. All right, so can I say I always move upward for the focus? Is it safe to say I always move downward for the directrix? No. What can we say? Can we always say the focus is inside the parabola and the directrix is always outside? That is safe to say, but it's not safe to say, oh, I'm always going to add or I'm always going to subtract. All right, questions so far? All right, what if our parabola is opening sideways? I'm going to do right side first. And what do we notice about this line of symmetry? Vertical or horizontal? Vertical or horizontal? Horizontal, which means that's why it's y equals. All right, focus is still always going to be inside. So from the vertex, will I move up, down, right, or left to be inside the parabola? And it's always, pause really quick, the focus is always on your LOS, just like your vertex. So from my vertex, will I move right, left, up, or down to be inside?
Right.
Right. And whatever distance I move to the right, I will also move to the left and make it my directrix. All right, a few things you should know. What did we say earlier? There's always 2 points and 2 lines. Yes? On these two here, what kind of lines were the LOS, so vertical or horizontal? Vertical, so they're always going to be x equals. What do you know about the directrix? They're always perpendicular, which means vertical or horizontal? Horizontal, which means these are always going to be y equals. Where here, the LOS is y equals, and the directrix is what? X equals. Should you notice those type of things? Yes. All right, let's draw the last one. I'm going to draw it in quadrant 1, opening to the left. I'm going to draw in my line of symmetry. And from the vertex, and I always say from the vertex because that's where you will always be moving for, or from, to find your focus and directrix. From the vertex, which direction will I move to be inside the parabola? Right, left, up, or down? Left. Do you see that? And whatever distance I move to the left, I will also move to the right and make my directrix. All right. All right, now I said it a few times. What is that length called? The length from your vertex to directrix or vertex to focus? The focal length. Focal length. I'm going to call it C equals 1 over 4A. Now that I think you did different last year. Or do you guys remember 1 over 4A? Yeah, maybe you did? Okay. All right. Questions? And all of this, I'm going to say, is somewhat review. You may have learned it a little different than the way I'm teaching it, but you've dealt with parabolas and vertex, of line of symmetry, and all this stuff before. Yes? All right. Questions then before we move on to actual problems that you're going to see on today's assignment, as well as quizzes and tests. No questions? All right, let's get started then. All right. Put in descriptive form. Find the vertex, focus, equation of the LOS. And what does LOS stand for? Line of symmetry. And I say equation because I don't want to just see 5. X equals 5 or Y equals 2 or whatever it may be. Comma, equation of the directrix and sketch. Yes, there is a lot to that problem. All right. Before we do it, I want to jump back here. And I didn't do any labeling here because it was reviewed. Does anybody need me to label the focus directrix? Are we good? What am I pointing to here? Is that the focus or the directrix? Focus, and this is the directrix, and this is the line of symmetry. We're good? Again, line of symmetry or axis of symmetry. All right, getting started. Number 1. Y equals 2 parentheses x minus 4 quantity squared plus 3. All right, there's a lot to do. We're going to get through it. First, it says write or put in descriptive form. Now, I didn't use the word descriptive form earlier. Does anybody know which one of these would be considered descriptive form? Standard or vertex? Standard? What does descriptive mean? To describe something, to explain what it means, yes, to give description. This one's considered descriptive form because when you look at it, can you right away know what the vertex is without any work? This one requires work. You can't look at it and say, oh, the vertex is AB or BC or AC. You do negative B over 2A, plug it back in and do some work. On this one, does it require any work? No. So let's put parentheses here, descriptive form. Descriptive form, vertex form. They interchange, so make sure you know the two. All right. Did everybody add it to their notes? Okay. So that part's already done for us. Would you agree? Okay, find the vertex. I'm going to put V for vertex. Find the vertex. I'm going to put F for the focus, equation for the line of symmetry, LOS, and directrix, DIREC. Okay, which two are the points? Which two are the lines? We know vertex is a point. Which one else is a point? The focus, the LOS, or directrix? Okay, what is LOS? Is LOS a line or a point? A line. I'll put a little note there. It's a line. Which one of these is the point and which one's the line for the focus and directrix? Focus is an ordered pair. It's a point, and the directrix is also a line. All right. Which one's x equals and which one's y equals? This parabola is y equals and the x is being squared. Is that our traditional up or down, or is it the sideways? It's going to be either up or down, which means what is the LOS? X equals or y equals? X equals, and the directrix is y equals. All right. With that being said, vertex without any work is what? 4, 3. Do you see that? Yes? Opposite of the inside, outside stays the same. LOS, x equals, without any work, x equals what? X equals 4. If you didn't know that, it's right here. Your LOS is x equals h, h being the opposite of the inside, or the x value of your vertex. Opposite of the inside is also the same value of the vertex, which is the LOS. Yes or no? All right. In order to find the focus or the directrix, what do I have to find first? The focal length is correct. I will tell you, before I do the focal length, I like to sketch, and these are the things I do last. I find my focal length and do the focus and directrix. Sketching, to me, just getting the visual helps me to figure out where things are. All right, I'm going to make my graph like this because of where the parabola exists, right 4, up 3. All right, right 4, up 3. And is it opening up or down? Up. Now, it's just a sketch. You don't have to plot points. I know last year you did some plotting points to get a more accurate graph. Do you guys remember what the coefficient told you? The 2, it goes opposite of what you think. The bigger the number, the thinner, the narrow, the thinner your graph is. Again, I'm not going to be picky about that, like, oh, it's too wide or it's too thin, but you should pay attention to it at the very least. All right, and I don't know if I asked it, but how did I know it was opening up? I just did it because the A is positive. Yes? All right, I'm going to go ahead and sketch my LOS. That is part of my sketching. And is it the line x equals 4? Does it go through the 4 on the x-axis? All right. Okay, so we graphed it. What did I say I'm going to find first? The focal length. What's the focal length formula? C equals 1 over 4. And I'm going to pause and say, I'm going to come back over here, and I should have added it in. Absolute value of A. Sometimes I forget to write it because I just never deal with the negative. but mathematically we should write it 1 over 4 times the absolute value of A, because length is always positive. All right. On this problem, did I have to worry about absolute value? No. So 1 over 4 times what? 2. Which is 1 over 8. Okay. Questions, yes or no? All right, here is where you really need to put your thinking caps on. It's not hard, but it can get confusing if you're not paying attention. All right, this is your vertex. And from my vertex, which direction am I moving for the focus and directrix? Up and down or right and left? Up and down. So when you move up and down, what changes? The x value or the y value when I'm moving up and down? Do you agree it's the y value? The 3 is going to go up and the 3 is going to go down. How far? 1/8. We just need to figure out which one is which. All right, 3 plus 1/8. You don't have to do anything fancy. It's just what? 3 and 1/8. 3 minus 1/8. That one you do kind of have to think about. If you have 3 whole numbers and you take away 1/8 of one of them, you're left with 2 and 7/8. Can all of you guys do that in your head? All right. So which one goes where? So I'm going to come here, and which direction do I move for my focus? Up or down? Up. And it's a really small distance, but you are moving up. And I usually put a star just to show that it's different from the vertex. And how far down am I moving? 1/8. Okay. So the dot, which one is that? The 3 and 1/8 or the 2 and 7/8 if I moved up? So it's, what do I put here for the focus? 4, comma, 3 and 1/8. Do you guys see that? Why does the 4 stay the same? Did the 4 change when I moved up and down? Did it change my x value? No. Okay, directrix, that's pretty easy. I went down, so which one is it? So y equals 2 and 7/8, and that there is your answer, and that there is your sketch. You hate fractions? I know. Yeah. All right, are we good? Let's try another one. Number 2. Y equals negative parentheses x plus 2 quantity squared plus 4. All right, I'm going to go a little faster on this one. V, F, LOS, directrix. Vertex is a point, focus is a point, LOS and directrix are lines. Which way is this parabola opening? Is it the traditional up or down, or is it the sideways? All right, it's negative, so which direction is it opening? Down. What is my LOS if it's opening up or down? X equals or Y equals? Which means the directrix is going to be without any work, because it's called descriptive form. What is the vertex? Opposite of the inside, the outside stays the same. That means I know the LOS already. X equals negative 2. I save the focus and the directrix for the end after I sketch. I'm going this way this time, again, because of where the vertex is. All right, negative 2 up 4. And which way is this parabola opening? Down. And the leading coefficient is 1. Don't pay attention to the negative. Wide, thin, or normal? 1 would be normal. Yeah, and again, you don't have to be too picky about it. I'm not going to be concerned about what your x-intercepts are or y-intercept. It's just making sure you know how to find these pieces. Okay. What do I need to find in order to find these pieces? What is it called? Focal length. It's not the focus, it's the focal length. C equals 1 over 4 times absolute value of A. What's the absolute value of A in this case? 1. So what's my focal length? So I'm going to go up 1/4 and down 1/4. One more time, from this negative 2, 4, when I move up and down, what's changing, the 4 or the negative 2? So it's going to go up and it's going to go down. What length? 1/4. We just need to know which one goes where. 4 plus 1/4 is pretty easy. It's 4 and, now again, you have 4 whole. You take away 1/4 of one of them, you're left with 3 and 3/4. Now, don't always assume the positive one, the one where you added is your focus, or the one you subtracted is your directrix. You have to look at your picture. That's why I graph first. All right, I forgot to draw my line of symmetry, so please get yours in if you didn't already. All right, if I'm here, which direction am I moving for the focus, up or down? Down 1/4. Why was this one up 1/4 and this one down 1/4? Or not 1/4. Why was this direction up and this direction down? Opening down, right? It depends on the direction you're opening. All right, so which one is down 1/4? The 4 and 1/4 or the 3 and 3/4? 3 and 3/4. So what do I put for the focus? If I go left 2, comma, 3 and 3/4. Is the x value changing? Will the x value ever change when your parabola is opening up or down? No, look, 4, 4, even your LOS is 4. -2, -2, -2. What is changing? The y all the way through. Do you see that? What is the y value in this case? Y, or for the directrix? Y equals 4 and 1/4. So do you see why I suggest you sketch first to figure out what is what? Yeah. And don't just like, oh, this one's bigger, it's going to be here, or I moved up or down. You kind of have to visualize it and see I'm moving up. That's 4 and 1/4. I'm moving down. That's 3 and 3/4. Questions? All right. We do need to do at least one sideways one. Number 3. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do it where we have to get it in descriptive form. Y squared plus 2y plus 3. All right, the first part was descriptive form. Is this descriptive form? No, what's the process called? Complete the square. All right, so we've done it a few times. I'm going to walk you through it again. I'm going to move the 3 over because it's in the way. Y squared plus 2y plus blank. I factor out any leading coefficients. I never factor out a variable. What's a leading coefficient right here? Do I have anything to factor out? No, only if it was like 2 or 3 or anything other than 1, like a -5 even. All right, cut that in half and square it. What do I get? What do I get? 1. And then I multiply to the leading coefficient if there was 1 out there. But since there's not, what number goes on the other side? 1. All right, so that gives me y minus, or x minus or plus? -2 equals, here we double bubble, y, and it's plus, and what do we get? Y plus 1. So x equals the quantity of y plus 1 squared. I'm going to move this guy back over here, so what's at the end? Plus 2. All right, that's my descriptive form. Any questions on how I got that? Could you replicate that on your own? All right, and if this is not enough, we've completed the square other places in our notes. You can look there as well. All right, V for vertex, F for focus, LOS for line of symmetry, and direct for directrix. All right, remember opposite of the inside, outside stays the same, but be careful. Which direction is this parabola opening? Up, down, or is it sideways? Sideways. So the most common mistake kids make is they do this. Opposite of the inside, outside stays the same. Why is that wrong? Right, this is -1 and that is 2, but this goes with the y, not the x spot. But they put it that way because kids make that mistake because that's what we've done for so long. Do you see that it's 2, -1? Be careful. Would anybody have done the other one if I didn't stop and say, hey, yeah. It happens all the time, so be careful. All right, what do we know about the LOS if it's sideways? It's x equals or y equals? Which means the directrix is going to be what? X equals. All right. LOS, y equals what? 2 or -1? It's y equals -1. All right, let's go ahead and graph. So over 2, down 1. All right, and which way is this parabola opening? Opening right or opening left? To the right because of what? Because it is positive. All right, I'm drawing my line of symmetry, and is it y equals -1 the way we said it would be? All right, so let's get this in. And we're ready for these two. In order to find these two, I need to first find the what? 1/4 times, what's a in this case? So 1/4, yes or no? Okay, I'm nervous about time, I apologize. All right, so when I move from here, I'm going to move which direction 1/4? Right and left or up and down? Right and left. So what is changing from my vertex, the 2 or the -1? So the 2 is what I'm going to add 1/4, and the 2 I'm going to subtract 1/4. Yes or no? 2 plus 1/4 is 2 and 1/4. 2 take away 1/4 is 1 and. All right, we just have to figure out which one is which. When I move to the right 1/4, that's the focus, yes or no? So what is that ordered pair? 2, it's 2 and 1/4. 2 and 1/4, comma, 2 and 1/4, comma, -1. Do you see that? And from here, when I backtrack 1/4, this line is x equals or y equals? X equals, and I backtracked 1/4, so what is it? X equals 1 and 3/4. Any questions? All right. Doable?